The good thing is that if this sells well, it gives them ammo to be like, hey, let's do the female version of the game. Because the female version isn't like a whole new game, but it is like maybe adding it's like adding an expansion's worth of content realistically.
Hey everybody, before we get started, I just wanted to say if you enjoy our content and want to stay up to date with our videos, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Thanks. So on to the video.
Hello and welcome back to my channel, Random Drop. And today I'm reacting to the trailer of Persona 3 Reload, the expansion pass. Now, if you don't know, the expansion pass includes The Answer, which was the epilogue that was added to Persona 3 FES many years ago. Persona 3 was released, then a new version came out called Persona 3 FES that added The Answer. Again, it's like a 40-hour epilogue to the original game. It's highly focused on dungeon crawling, but has a good chunk of story in it. But it does throw away, there's no social aspect to it. It is very much just dialogue between the characters of the game and crawling through a dungeon. But sadly, The Answer was never released on the portable version, which is where a lot of people played Persona 3, as the portable version had a lot of quality of life changes. It added the female protagonist, but also you could control your teammates rather than the original Persona 3 where you could set tactics to them and then their AI would act accordingly. Hey, Persona 3 Portable was the actual first true turn-based version of the game. So let's get into the trailer. I'm gonna watch it really quick, and then I believe there's a developer blog that I'll watch as well, and then talk more about it. But hey, I'm super excited. I watched The Answer originally after playing Portable. I watched it, and I understand why people have some issues with it, but most of my qualms are probably gameplay related, which they will probably most definitely fix. And I'm super excited to just see more of these characters. So let's get into it. Oh, so this is what, 2 months after? And yeah, the whole premise is they're stuck inside the dorm, and like time's looping, some weird shit's going on, and hey, we have to crawl a dungeon. Distorted. Oh my god, Hurtful Cry, dude. What a banger of a song. Yeah, the Persona 4 Arena version of this, and I imagine they're gonna do a remake version of this. Holy shit. Hurtful Cry is such a good song. Yeah, there's a lot of what I remember here. Of course, it's very, very pretty. It's more combat. It is going to be just a lot more combat. Hopefully they do more with the dungeon, as it's pretty much just like Tartarus, right? You're ending up jumping like your hallways. Hopefully they spice up the pacing a bit more, because that's probably the game's biggest issue, is that, yeah, that's some good art. Let's pause right there. So I did hear that the expansion pass is $40 from my understanding, which The Answer, from what I remember, is a pretty good chunk of content. It is a pretty large game. It is mainly consistent of a lot of dungeon crawling. It's just a ton more combat. There is a story to it, and it's I do overall like what they do with the story. But it is not, right, like you're not doing social links and stuff like that. It is mainly focused on the like literal persona and dungeon crawling end of the game. And what I remember, like, it's maybe like takes people 30 to 40 hours, which is like a pretty good chunk of content. But the thing is, Tartarus is a randomly generated dungeon, so it's like the content really is getting stretched out, but it's like you're just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. Hopefully they spice it up a bit here, but I think mostly people are going to be coming to this to hey, they beat Persona 3 Reloaded, and they're like, what the fuck was that ending, and want more closure. I personally think the answer isn't really necessary, especially as someone who played Portable. The game is just fine, right, without it, and the ending of the game, you don't really need the answer, but if it is there, if you do want it, and it is something like worth checking out. And if you like the Persona extended universe, this carries into Persona 4 Arena. I think Arena's story is fucking incredible. Labris is probably one of my favorite characters in the Persona series. I actually like her English voice actress doing like the New Jersey thing. I think it's kind of cute. But yeah, it carries over Persona 4 Arena, where we see Akihiko, Junpei, most of the cast older again. You see Ken and Koromaru hanging out. It's awesome to see those characters as adults and see how, like, hey, how did life go for them after the ending of The Answer and Persona 3 Reloaded. So hey, if you play the answer, go play Persona 4 Arena. My dream is that one day they do a movie for Persona 4 Arena or do an anime series, something, so that it's just not tied behind the fighting game, and do like a completely canonical version of that story. I would love a, you know, action RPG or just another JRPG that tells the story of Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax, but I don't think that'll happen. But hey, Persona 4 Arena for the story is very much worth checking out, but it is mostly told in visual novel format. But yeah, this looks great. Let's check out the dev interview. Hello everyone, Kuzishiwara, producer. Yes, I did enjoy Persona 3 very much. Yeah, and I think lots of people from 5 are coming back to 3 being like, holy shit, this story. But Tartarus still sucks. The answer is him actually announcing it rather than the Xbox. This is the epilogue to the main story, starring Aigis, who awakened to the power of the wild card, which is the very premise of... Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it's dealing with the aftermath of the end of the game and how those characters dealt with it, and it causes some shit to happen. But I think it's overall not a necessary story, but it's super enjoyable. Big variety of new elements.
今回発売されたペルソナ3リロードは文字通りペルソナ3を再装填、
Yes, it
リメイク
is.
するというプロジェクトです。自分の思いとしてはペルソナ3の後日談であるエピソードアイギスなしに
Yeah, which they originally said they weren't going to do this, right? But
エピソードアイギスをリメイクすることは実はリロードの批判の時から強く望んで検討していました。
remaking this whole
しかしな
time,
がら様々な事情から
but it got canceled before. Like, I bet some higher up probably was like, no, we don't need that. That's extra dev time. And making the game really bloated too. It's not needed, especially the game that's 100 hours. But looks like to fan reception, hey, here's Persona 3 episode, I guess. So yeah, that's awesome that they listened. They probably saw that there was like, holy shit, like, there's probably at least 500,000 people who are going to buy an expansion that's $40. So it's a smart business move because there's that passion for this. And then, yeah. And then what they can do, right? And I'll talk about it here in a second. Yeah, it's just remade of that story. Oh yeah, they may do revisions to the story and add some extra scenes and stuff. Actually, didn't even think about that. And yeah, and all the battle stuff is carried over. We got Metis, of course, which her design's always been insanely cool. Those are just starting out. Man, there's so many people seeing the ending of Persona 3 for the first time. It's so exciting. Will be available to purchase on March 12th with the expansion pass, and it's currently in development. The weird thing about this is they're trying to frame it as like an expansion pass, but usually expansion passes have quite a bit more content, where this content is all literally at the end. 90% of the, I mean, fucking like 95% of the content is episode Aigis. That is mainly what you're paying for, but they're basically trying to get pre-sales of like, hey, if we frame it as an expansion pass, we'll sell on these BGM sets for like the first couple months, and then the big thing will come out months later. But at that point, people have already pre-ordered and purchased in to the expansion pass, which is like a pretty weak-ass expansion pass. But the answer is probably going to be worth the money, right? It's going to be probably a lengthy amount of content because the original answer was like 30 to 40 hours long. Then you can like replay it on harder difficulties and whatnot, new cutscenes and voice acting. Like it's a hefty piece of content. So I think it's worth the money. It's just like funny how they're framing it, because they're kind of trying to get upfront sales at this point. Because like a BGM set, that takes them no work to do. The Velvet costume things, like I thought this was already out, but apparently not. My big disappointment is there's no Persona 4 Arena costumes for these characters yet. Here's God hoping that they add the Mitsuru freaking spy outfit and Akihiko superhero outfit and Yukari and the Pink Ranger. Oh man, it would be incredible. Koromaru with Ken's hoodie on, Junpei in his baseball outfit. It goes on. Like, I love the designs of those characters because they make logical sense where they go, and it's just a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, this all looks great. I think the price point, like, if you're getting Game Pass, I guess you're gonna get this for free. But I think the price point, if it is $40, is totally fine. Because again, if we knew nothing about episode Aegis, everyone would be like, $40, fuck off. But like, we kind of do know about it and know its structure, and they're gonna pretty much want to remake that. Yeah, it's gonna be a hefty piece of content. It's like a mini Persona. It's gonna be like a mini Persona 3 JRPG game, right? Where it's all just focused on dungeon crawling and then with cutscenes in between. But yeah, I'm excited, right? Check out my other video where I talk about my like overall thoughts on Persona 3 Reload, as I do discuss that and my hopes for maybe a possible Persona 4 remake and how I feel about Golden in general. But there's another video I did the other day on the channel. But yeah, man, I am looking forward to this. How do y'all feel? The good thing is that if this sells well, it gives them ammo to be like, hey, let's do the female version of the game. Because the female version isn't like a whole new game, but it is like maybe adding it's like adding an expansion's worth of content realistically, because it's like 25-30% of the game and a bunch more cutscenes, and some cutscenes are reworked and reframed because you're a female now. And I think if this does well, they would be able to be like, hey, here's our second expansion pass, Persona 3, I don't know what you call it, Portable Reloaded or something, right? But seeing the female protagonist in 3D would be really fun, and I do dig her personality a lot, because I did play the that version as well, and that music. Oh, and seeing remixes of her music too would be great. I got so many ideas. But yeah, definitely, I think that would be a good idea, because then if they do that, then at that point, once they complete the Aegis episode and adding the female protagonist, they can release Persona 3 Reloaded again as a complete edition or whatever, with all the DLCs all packed, and it just keeps sales of the game rolling, right? And I think that's going to be the strategy, and then they can just keep adding costumes and DLC, and people pay for it, because realistically, like, this game's like 100 fucking hours. People got their money's worth out of it, and some people really want to replay it or want to come back to it at some point. Like, dude, this is my like 4th time playing this story, and probably number 5 coming up soon. So that's overall how I feel about it. I'm super excited for the future of Persona 3 and the franchise in general, and their whole idea of like going back to the old versions, being like, and sprucing them up a bit. Again, my hopes is that like something is done with Persona 2, because I feel like that story is actually incredible and a lot more people should see it. Hey, I think 4 remake is a given. 4 blew up in Japan. 4 was so fucking popular in Japan. There's like and then the anime, like the 4 anime came out before like the 3 movies, right? Because 4 was so popular. Like they saw that they had this thing and people really loved those characters, and that's what built up the hype for 5. It's because of how much people liked 4. And then now that 5 is so popular, people were interested in 3 again. And now with retrospect, looking back at it, 3 has like the best story, and people have always said that. I've always said that. But gameplay wise, yeah, it did suffer. But hey, they came back with it and completely updated the gameplay, and other than Tartarus, that game is goddamn near perfect, and it's gonna be brimming with content by the end of a year or 2, especially if they do the female version. And there's such a outcry for that if this expansion pass does well, I'm sure they're gonna do it. It would be dumb not to. Hey, how do you feel? What do you think? Leave a comment below, and I will see you on the next random drop video. Peace.